guys, Travis and Brittany Minger here, back for week 2 as promised. Today we're talking about the 5 love languages and how we've integrated that into our relationship. I'm going to share a little bit on what the 5 love languages are and why it's important maybe to read that book, whether you're in a relationship or not. And then Britt's going to talk a little bit more on some takeaways that she has. But first and foremost, get your hands on the book. It's called The 5 Love Languages. How it breaks it down is how you feel loved. And I think what's important is understanding both how you feel loved, but also how someone in any relationship that you have, most specifically your spouse, but how they also feel loved and how that can differ and how that might cause conflicts in relationships. So the 5 love languages, though, they break them down. It's really nice. You actually get to do a quiz in there to figure out exactly where you are, which is kind of cool because you might think what you are, and then you take it and it's completely different. But the 5 are quality time, physical touch, acts of service, gifts, and then words of affirmation. And after taking the quiz, I realized that I was a combination of 1 or 2, and it was a little bit different than what I thought it might be. And it was really actually quite interesting, and I'm going to actually kick it over to Britt, though. She's going to share some insights more in depth on what she found through the evolution of reading this book. So Britt, you want to take it over?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say when I first read this book, just like what Trav mentioned, I was definitely different than what I thought, and you're going to most likely end up with like a primary love language and then a secondary. And what's really interesting about that, for example, mine is acts of service. That's my primary. So when Trav does small things for me, like helping me out with carrying groceries or opening up my car door or writing a little note, that means the world to me because it's a tiny little thoughtful moment, and that's really keying into my love language. On the contrary, though, when I do those things for Trav, let's say, for example, I put his shoes away, or I fold his laundry and put it away, he doesn't even notice that I've done it. And the reason I mention that is take note of how your significant other is showing you how they love you, and that's most likely a reflection of their love language. So by me doing a lot of acts of service or, holding Trav's hand, physical touch, that's an indicator that that's really what I would like to make sure that my love tank, so to speak, is full. Second thing that I'll mention is I took this test initially probably about a decade ago, and my top love languages have changed since then. So I would say that overall the idea of the 5 love languages, it's a fluid, spectrum. And oftentimes you want to be retaking this, especially with your spouse. You want to make sure your spouse or your significant other know what your love language is, but also be retaking that test because oftentimes it's going to be changing based on what your relationship or what your marriage needs right at that moment. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'll let you maybe take it away from there.
No, so that's all we wanted to share. We'd love to hear your comments on maybe if you've read the book or after you read the book, what your takeaways are. But next week we're going to talk about timing. In a lot of senses, just how important it is to understand if you're a now person or a later person, or if you're a morning or night owl, and how those different schedules might cause conflict, but how they can be a blessing if you understand them. So see you next week.